And it takes a few moments to go live, I believe.
It is live, so
Okay.
we have attendees coming in, and
Well,
probably want to give it a minute and then you can start.
thank you, Anne. Okay. Seeing the attendee count stabilize, I'm going to call this meeting of the Albany Social and Economic Justice Commission to order. Roll call, please, by the city clerk. Anne.
That's going to be me today, Laura.
Hi, roll call.
Nice to meet you all.
Yeah.
All right. By the way, this is obviously my first time doing this, so we're going easy. Roll call. Commissioner Bainan.
Present.
Commissioner Garrett Pinguelo.
Here.
Commissioner Grossman.
Here.
Commissioner Canoli. Am I saying that correctly?
You are correct. Present. Thank you.
Awesome. Commissioner Lindsay.
Present.
Commissioner Zapata.
Presente.
And Chair Dosty.
Here.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Next is approval of the minutes. Could I get a motion to approve, or are there any comments? Commissioner Lindsay.
My name is spelled A-Y, not E-Y.
If we could get that amended, please, by staff.
It's really important, yeah.
Legal documents. Anything else?
The rest of it looked good to me. So if there's no other objections, I'll move to approve with that one amendment.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Second from Commissioner Zapata. I saw Commissioner Canoli but didn't hear it. Okay.
Yeah.
Then we will vote. Laura, would you please?
Commissioner Bainan.
Yes.
Commissioner Garrett Pinguelo.
Yes.
Commissioner Grossman.
Abstain.
Commissioner Canoli.
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsay Benet.
Yes.
Commissioner Zapata.
Yes.
And Chair Dosty.
Yes. The minutes are approved. Thank you. Now I would like to move to swap the order of announcements and public comment, just because I have a number of announcements. It shouldn't take more than 10 minutes, but I think they will address a number of things that might come up in public comment. I'm not sure I can move it myself. Would someone else like to move that? Failing that, we will just go to public comment first.
I'll also move.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Canoli. Okay, then announcements. I have about 11 announcements, and I'm going to share.
I'm afraid we do have to vote on that.
You do, yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
If we could vote, please, Laura. Thank you.
Commissioner Bainan.
Yes.
Commissioner Garrett Pinguelo.
I have a question. Are we moving announcements just for this meeting, or is this forever?
This is today, this meeting.
Okay, that's a yes. That's fine.
Commissioner Grossman.
Yes.
Commissioner Canoli.
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsay.
Yes.
Commissioner Zapata.
Yes.
Commissioner Chair Dosty.
Yes, thank you. Now, I like to screen share. So this should be visible now. Yes, a decent size. Okay. For all attendees and panelists, if you're having trouble seeing the ratio, you should be able to slide between to change which is bigger and which is smaller. Okay, first of all, I would like us to have a moment of silence in observation of Black History Month, which is the month of February. Thank you for that. Second, I have a few recent and future presentations and workshops I would like the public to be aware of. First, Echo Housing's workshops this past week, Albany Rent Review on the 21st and Tenants' Rights and Evictions Protections on the 26th are both viewable online after the fact as videos. You can go to echofairhousing.org, go to their calendar, go to the day that those happened, and input your information as if you were signing up to Zoom and get the recording. Albany Hope, there was a presentation by Berkeley Food and Housing Project on its status yesterday at City Council. The meeting can be seen on Albany KALB on YouTube, and you can read the report on the agenda under item 9-1. As far as mental health goes, Alameda County should be bringing a presentation soon to either council or SEJC per the staff. So that is in the works. The city staff are working on bringing that to us. And the racial justice consultants, Nicole Anderson and Associates Incorporated, are in discussion to return to SEJC to continue work on the racial equity impact plan. So that is also in the works. Addressing questions around SEJC's functioning, the accountability to requested agenda items is we are now going to have an ongoing list of requests for future agenda items that will be attached to every agenda going forward. And it will keep track of what has been asked, when, who, if they want it. There is an example attached to this agenda. As for how to request agenda items, please note that they must be during public meeting. You cannot email or contact outside of public meeting. We, as the commission, can only discuss them during the future agenda items section at the end of the meeting. And in order to place them on a future agenda, the commission as a whole must agree to do so. So that is the process for how to request agenda items. Public contribution to subcommittees. Formally made ad hoc committee, so we do have to say we're making a subcommittee, can organize a meeting to meet with residents of the public to get input on a specific topic. It would not be subject to the Brown Act as long as there's not a quorum of the commission. So that answers the question about broadcasting and all of those issues. So we can have a subcommittee meet with members of the public. This is per the city attorney. And moving our start time earlier, we do have to place that on a future agenda and have a full consideration of that. And consideration, future agenda items that have been requested, just brief status updates on those. The publicizing meetings request is now under the purview of Community Media Access Committee. So they're the folks who will be working to improve community outreach and access to meetings, information about them. They will be doing all of the publication. So that is not our charge. That is their charge per council at their meeting in mid-January. And the public showers has not been on our agenda. We cannot work on it, but these are some informational items about what I am aware of, which is that Daniel Barth from GRIP in Richmond with the SOS program has been working with the Diverse Housing Working Group to bring a shower trailer. Staff notified him in mid-January that a request for Cleveland Avenue couldn't be accommodated and said the next steps would be to apply for permits with the Community Development Department for another location that needs the appropriate hookups such as water, and suggested possible locations that the Diverse Housing Group has been looking at include Ryden Road and Buchanan Street. So because that has been a consistent item, I wanted to update the public on that via announcements. Are there any other announcements?
Yes, Jeremiah here.
We will raise our hands, please. First, Commissioner Grossman, and then Commissioner Garrett Pinguelo.
Yes, I just wanted to take a moment to let you know why it was that I was unable to attend the first meeting, because I was sorry to have missed it. I had just recently got out of the ICU a few days before for a triple bypass. And I was at that point still early in my recovery and pretty limited in terms of my energy. So I'm sorry I missed it. I did watch it, and I'm delighted to see the new commission and the diversity of the new commission. Very excited by that. It was not, I wanted to tell you, my original intention to ask to be reappointed. But when I learned that all of my colleagues were leaving, I felt it was important that at least somebody be here who's aware of some of the history. And so I decided to hang around for a bit longer because things do get missed and forgotten. And there are a number of things that I want to mention later that seem to have somehow disappeared and have not been acted on. So let's see. Well, I'll talk about those later. I wanted to tell you that, again, I'm excited to work with you. I think this is going to be an exciting new group. We've got some things to finish up that are important. And so long as my memory holds out, I'll be happy to make a bridge to some of the things that went on in the past that may be relevant. Not as a way of trying to limit you, just as a way of saying there are some things we've done that maybe we don't need to do again. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Announcement from Commissioner Garrett Pinguello.
Okay, so in San Francisco, there's going to be a car caravan Saturday, February 6th, regarding healthcare for all. It's a national kickoff day. It's the California Nursing Association, and the car caravan is going to start at San Francisco City College, and people can gather at the multi-use building at 10 a.m. It's going to go to the state building. So, healthcare for all with the California Nursing Association. That's my announcement.
Any other announcements? Commissioner Cannoli.
I just want to first say I'm so happy to see Commissioner Garrett Pinguello on this Social and Economic Justice Committee. I also want to talk about why we took that moment of silence, if you don't mind, Chair Dotsie. So the reason why we took the moment of silence is due to these uncertain times, but more specifically for Black history, since we are in the dedicated month of Black history, whom was launched by Carter Godwin Woodson. And the reason why we took this moment of silence is due to the disparities in the national traumas towards the Black race that have been happening up to this moment. So I don't want to take too long, but we all know that there was trauma from like George Floyd and others that followed, but also one of the greatest artists and entertainers of all time, which unfortunately recently passed, I send my condolences, is Cicely Tyson, that paved the way for a lot of Black entertainers today. So not to mention the things that have happened to the Black race prior to George Floyd and thereafter, to include, in my opinion, the Capitol riot. So I want to first thank you for taking a moment of silence for Black History Month. And I just want to preface this, that let us not forget Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Elijah Cummings, and John Lewis. And I can continue on this list, but that's why we took the moment of silence. And I'm really happy that we did. And happy Black History Month. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, applause. Any other announcements?
Can I add to the announcement?
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Garrett Pinguello.
Thank you. Regarding showers, with Daniel Barth, it's a great thing. I just want to say that during the month of October, November, December, I was volunteering for shower programs all over the Bay Area, and I found a shower program in Richmond, and that's when I met Daniel Barth, and I started talking with him, and I was able to borrow his shower trailer when he went on Christmas vacation for 10 days. And I brought that shower trailer to Solano Avenue, and I got about 15 homeless people to take showers on Solano one day. And I've been working with Daniel for a few months now. And so I just want to say that I did help connect Daniel Barth with the city. And so I had some part in that. Just want to let everybody know.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Garrett Pinguello. Any last announcements? Seeing none, we will move on to public comment. And I believe that is still Anne's job, not Laura's. if you would let in the first. I'm seeing 3 hands. So folks, please do raise your hands now so that we don't miss you. And Anne, if you would let in the first public commenter.
Go ahead, Heather.
Hi, can you hear me? Yes, okay. I want to thank you so much for having this meeting. This is my first time participating in this particular meeting, and I really love the vibe and what you're standing for. I'm a nurse. I'm actually a nurse anesthetist. I've been a nurse for 30 years, and I've taken care of many homeless people. And this is actually bringing tears to my eyes. I worked at county for many years, and I just think this is phenomenal. So I actually lived in Los Angeles, and I just wanted to bring up something that I don't know if you've considered. Phasing out live horse racing at Golden Gate Fields will benefit the communities of Alameda and Berkeley. By repurposing this massive parcel of land, you will create jobs, sustainable revenue, and of course, housing. We can look at some other examples right here in California. First, there's Bay Meadows in San Mateo. They closed in 2008. The track was destroyed and replaced with residential units, retail space, offices, 15 acres of public parks, and a rebuilt hillside Caltrain station. Next, there is Hollywood Park in Inglewood by LAX. I'm sorry, my cat's on my lap. They stopped racing in 2013 and the track was demolished. The SoFi Stadium is being constructed on the old racetrack site, and it will be the new home to the LA Rams and the LA Chargers. Bugs, get down. Granted, COVID has interrupted proceedings. However, this is a huge stadium that will host concerts, football games, and lots of other events. And this stadium will create tons and tons of jobs. So lastly, there is the Los Alamitos race course in Cyprus. With no successors, the track will die with the owner, and he is in his 80s. In 2018, local voters decided what they wanted. The City of Cyprus Specific Plan 2.0 explicitly states that there will be no more racing, training, or even stabling of horses. This land will be carved up into 17 acres of public parks, senior housing, single-family residential housing, and other mixed use. So by repurposing Golden Gate Fields, you would be doing a massive service to the community. I'm listening to these announcements, and that was very smart that you rearranged the order because, I mean, so many things just popped into my mind, like this community showers program, these drive-through medical clinics. I mean, these are all things that can happen on Golden Gate Fields when they are no longer racing horses. So phasing out horse racing is something to seriously consider. I can send you all the documents from Los Alamitos and whatever else you need, but I think this is something that should definitely be considered. So thank you so much for letting me speak.
Thank you. And just to note, we currently have 11 hands raised, and public comment can take up a lot of time. And we do have we want to get some of our work plan discussed. So in no way curtailing anybody, but you can express your support for things. And yes, Commissioner Lindsay, comment.
Maybe if we said tonight 2 minutes, given there's so many people, to give everybody a chance to speak, but still let the commission do some work. So, yeah.
I would, but I didn't for the first. So I do not want
I understand,
impose
but
that.
I know, but I mean, at that point, 8 more hands went up.
Yes.
So I'll just throw it out there as a motion, and we can, take a vote. Just given the number of people that want to say something. I've spoken many times at these things, and you can usually do it in 2 minutes if you need to. So I propose that for tonight, it'd be 2 minutes. That's a motion. It needs a second.
Do we have a second? I didn't hear you, but I saw your hand, Commissioner Grossman. Still not hearing you. Still not hearing you.
You're muted.
I'm trying to unmute. Okay, I'll second.
All right, can we have the vote, please, Laura?
Commissioner Bainan.
No.
Commissioner Garrett Penguelo.
No, I believe they should get 3 minutes, just like the first person.
Commissioner Grossman.
Yes.
Commissioner Cannoli,
No, I believe public comment should be very important.
Commissioner Lindsay,
I'll vote yes. I mean, I'm okay with 3, just threw it out there, but 3, 2, whatever. Let's move on. Yeah.
Commissioner Zapata,
No.
and Chair Dosty.
No. So the motion does fail. I will encourage the public commenters to consider how brief they can be. And if you bring in the next, please.
Hi, my name is Francesco Papalia. Beautiful day today. I went out to support my local restaurant on Solano Avenue. And as I approached the restaurant, there was someone with their shopping cart screaming out loud, sitting next to the outdoor seating, drinking an open container. I didn't want to eat there. I decided something had to be done, so I called the police. The police did come out. This is not a one-off situation. This gentleman has been consistently being what I consider a nuisance to people, victimizing them. I know a neighbor who this person went onto their property and started plugging into their outdoor outlet. I know another neighbor who has a property there that someone came in there and was sleeping and defecated in their laundry room and outside. The bathroom that is at the corner of Canes and Solano is being used to be shoot up in. The city is having to clean out needles. I know someone else who operates and manages a multi-unit building on Canes that regularly there's people sleeping in the garage and he has to clean out needles as well. This shopkeeper has been calling the police consistently to try to be able to run his business without having this person who has in the past come into the place and thrown one of those sanitizer bottles at one of their staff. He is a general nuisance. This is not up the avenue. So what I'm trying to do is make you understand and the city understand that people are being victimized. Please do not. I was on the homeless task force years ago when they had it. There are thousands of efforts to create housing for people who need it. There are still many people with mental disabilities and drug habits that are victimizing the people in Albany, and someone needs to stand up for them. There's 1,000 little things that happen, and many of you may not be aware that people are defecating and urinating on private property and shooting up and leaving behind things because it's concentrated into a small area. And the business people are being harassed by these people, and the police, who are not trained to do this, do not have the ability to do anything about it. They should not be put in this position. I apologize to the police officer when he came because I say you don't have the ability to do anything, and he couldn't. And they're drinking out loud, they're drinking and all that. So I hope you will please consider protecting the victims of Albany from people like this that are wreaking havoc.
Your time is up. Thank you. Next public commenter, please, Anne.
Go ahead, member of the public, phone number ending 595.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I'm Bonnie Croker calling in from Loma Linda, California. Thanks for this opportunity to speak. Your group is clearly a valuable asset to the community you serve. I'm a retired school teacher. I'm calling in now because I volunteer with a team whose members monitor and report on the highly unjust exploitation of horses and humans at Golden Gate Fields and other California horse racing tracks. Social acceptance of the horse racing industry is an insult to the concept of justice for all. Close to 100 young, otherwise healthy racehorses die every year on California racetracks. Thousands of racetrack workers live in substantial congregate dormitory-style housing where disease spreads rapidly, as you are aware, in reference to the more than 300 cases of COVID-19 at Golden Gate Fields. Average workers at California racetracks survive on low pay and have little to no health benefits. I advocate for shutting down Golden Gate Fields and making better, kinder use of the property it occupies, perhaps using it to help and house those suffering from economic disparities and homelessness. Should Golden Gate Fields be shut down, the workers who are employed there and the horses who are enslaved there would need a commission such as yours, aided by other volunteers, to help guide them into better opportunities and living situations. I can speak for myself and many other social justice and animal justice advocates who would volunteer to work alongside of you or whatever entity calls for and succeeds with the closure of Golden Gate Fields. That's in regard to bringing horses to sanctuary and guiding Golden Gate Field workers to new opportunities. Thank you so much for listening and this opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much. Next commenter, please, Anne.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to allow us to speak at your meeting tonight. I really appreciate everything that you do for the Bay Area. I'm also calling in to express my thoughts about Golden Gate Fields. Not many people know that a concentrated animal feeding operation, the EPA designates the minimum amount for a large CAFO of horses to be 500 horses. So Golden Gate Fields stables 1,400 horses. At the height of racing, Golden Gate Fields actually qualifies as 3 times the legal minimum for being considered a large CAFO. So, excuse me, sorry. This isn't a CAFO that the people of Berkeley, quote unquote, benefit from in any way. The horses there aren't raised for meat, they aren't raised for milk. They do, however, they are shipped to slaughter at the end of their racing careers. But this CAFO that's residing in the East Bay is literally just a CAFO for gambling. It serves no other purpose except for to just be betted on. And we're keeping, 1,400 horses captive there throughout the year. Right outside this CAFO for gambling is one of the largest houseless encampments in the Bay Area, one that's constantly raised and hazed by the local municipalities. I think that this is frankly ridiculous. The simple juxtaposition of these two facilities together is frightening and sickening. I would really like to encourage you to work with your colleagues in local and state legislature to close Golden Gate Fields permanently and to, like other commenters have said, reallocate the land for the betterment of the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comment. Next commenter, please, Anne.
Hi, yes, I'd like to echo what Sam just said and Heather as well. I grew up here in the Bay Area and I am a lifelong horse person. I used to dream of galloping my horse on Golden Gate Fields. And then I became a veterinarian. My name is Dr. Crystal Heath, and I have galloped on the track at Alameda and retrained ex-race horses for new careers. But I learned in veterinary school as I treated racehorses firsthand how decisions about their care were made on profit instead of their best interest. And as I learned more and more about the industry and saw firsthand the horrors of it, I knew I could no longer support it or even dream about it anymore. And the real horror is that 10,000 ex-race horses every year are sent across our borders to slaughter. And this industry is creating a glut of unwanted horses. The social and economic justice issues surrounding the track have been spoken about by other commenters as well. The top levels of the sport are run by the richest 0.01% of Americans who make their profits off of labor of exploited people of color and animals. And it's an antiquated thing that doesn't need to exist anymore. That land can be repurposed for housing for people and animals. And it's just a stain on this whole area that this thing persists. And it needs to go the way of so many other things of the past. And I would really hope that we can all join together and stop this industry and the atrocities that it commits on a daily basis. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Next commenter, please, Anne.
Go ahead, Mark.
You'll need to unmute Margie. That lowered your hand, but did not unmute you, Margie. And hopefully Margie will be back. In the meantime, next, please. Thank you, Anne.
Hello, hello. Am I being heard? Yes, my name is Curtis Vollmer. I'm a resident of Berkeley, California, and I am with the animal rights group Direct Action Everywhere, and I'm calling on what others have called about, and that is the horse racing facility at Golden Gate Fields. And I'd like to introduce a newer term some of you may be familiar with, and that's speciesism, and that's human supremacy, humans believing that we have the right to exploit other animals for, gain of some sort. And obviously this is an atrocity committed against the horses. Many of them are, just seen as profit machines. And if they get hurt when they're young, they get sent to slaughterhouses, die in brutal ways. But these facilities have been hotspots for COVID, not just here, but across the country, just like slaughterhouses and fur farms, other places that are exploiting animals have been hotspots for COVID across the country. And you can guarantee any facility that is exploiting animals, there's going to be human exploitation as well. The people that are being hurt primarily that work at this place are people of color, higher Latino populations that are being exploited at these facilities. And this industry will go the way of animals and circuses. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It's who's going to lead the charge on this. The Bay Area, and particularly Berkeley and Albany, Northern California, has been a bastion of social progress in the past, and you all have a unique opportunity to take a clear stand against this industry and phasing it out of society. It will be abolished. It's only a matter of when and who's going to be pushing that. And I hope that this committee will take charge on that and take a clear stand on the correct side of history for animals and the humans that are suffering at this industry. There's also been studies that showed on race days or big race days, there's an increased rate of drug abuse and violence against women as the rate of gambling and throwing around money goes up. And with it being Black History Month, I think it's worth noting that Coretta Scott King, Dexter Scott King, Angela Davis, Dick Gregory, Alice Walker, all these famous civil rights activists of the past were also on the correct side of history with regards to animal rights and the ties between speciesism and the oppression of humans. So I really hope y'all will get serious about banning this industry and closing Golden Gate Fields down. It is a stain on this part of California. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker, please, Anne.
Hi, my name is Rasa Petroskaite, and I volunteer at the Berkeley Animal Rights Center. And I'm also calling in asking you to please take whatever action you can to close down Golden Gate Fields, and also to please work to try to ban horse racing in Albany. And also, I'm aware that there may be laws on the state level that it's potentially preempting, but I'm not sure. I don't understand the legal intricacies there. But in any case, also please work at the state level to ban horse racing in all of California. And as all of us are aware, horse racing causes unnecessary suffering to horses and their deaths, and it's torturing animals for gambling. So kind of like the fur trade, it's completely unnecessary. And the sale of fur has been banned in California recently. And so I believe next should be horse racing, that should be banned at first locally and or maybe straight at the state level. And also, I believe it's an intersectional issue because, as others have pointed out, the land of Golden Gate Fields can be used to build housing, such as for the houseless population that lives nearby. So please take action to shut down Golden Gate Fields and to ban horse racing as much as you can. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for your comment. Next, please, Anne.
Hello, I'm also here to speak about horse racing. I appreciate all of your patience in listening to these comments. Thousands of horses in California are victims of the horse racing industry each year, and it really is nothing more than a purely capitalist, exploitative, profit-driven industry where horses are treated as either money-making or money-costing machines. These intelligent, sentient beings are so often given drugs to mask minor injuries and forced to run as fast as possible, resulting in broken legs or other injuries, and are usually killed right on the spot, even when injuries are treatable, so that the owners can collect insurance money. The ones that don't get injured, who don't eventually turn enough of a profit, are sent to be slaughtered via terrifying, violent methods. Horse racing is associated with gambling and has historical connections to organized crime, for example, the mob, money laundering, and drug cartels. Newborn foals conceived to be raced are killed when their buyers' monetary situations fall through, and no one wants to pay the cost of feeding and training. The land at Golden Gate Fields could be used for many other beneficial things for the community, like parks, a community garden, or low-cost housing. Berkeley and Albany are supposed to be progressive, and this barbaric industry is a moral stain of cruelty, enslavement, and exploitation. Please do all that you can to shut down this archaic center for greed and violence. Actions in the Bay Area have the potential to lead the rest of the world, and things done in the Bay Area ripple throughout the world. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next, please, Anne.
Hi, my name is Victoria Gu. I'm calling to also around the horse racing issue, and I want to encourage City of Albany and your commission to work with your state leaders to end this cruel industry and look at ways of using Golden Gate Fields in ways that benefit the community. And I'll keep my comment brief. I think a lot of people have touched on the cruelties of the industry and the social justice issues around it. And thanks so much for listening to our public comment.
Thank you very much. Next, please, Anne.
Hello, and thank you for listening to me. My name is Marcel Gibson. When I look at the pressing issue that is horse racing in Albany and also in Berkeley, I first think about the horrific situation we have put not only animals in, horses in, but also workers. Workers there are not treated with regard to health or safety, and horses there are not treated without regard for health or safety. Both Albany and Berkeley proclaims themselves as cities that are progressive. And yet we have one of the most atrocious, most horrific industries still operating in our city limits. When we are dawning on the beginning of the Black History Month, we have to remind ourselves that our country, our cities have made sure to get rid of legacy establishments like slavery that no longer belong in our modern day society. As you have heard, the atrocities that are happening in this industry need to go. We need to have the ability, the insight, and the wisdom to lead the rest of this country and perhaps the world to say no more to this type of abuse. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Next, please. Yeah.
Hi. I have two comments to make. One is I think that I know that you mentioned that having the meeting start earlier will have to be on a future agenda, but I think this is a really good example of why it would be a good idea to start earlier. But the other thing I wanted to say is that the comments by Francesco Papalia were such a perfect, wonderful example of why money should be redistributed from the police department to social services. It was like he just did a great job of telling that story, explaining why the police officer was not comfortable, explaining that the person that he was talking about obviously needs social services and a social worker, somebody without a gun, somebody who can deal with the person in a way that is respectful and trauma-informed and person-centered. And so I appreciate Francesco speaking up and telling that story, because I think it really adds to what needs to be done in Albany in terms of redistributing the funds away from the police department and into social services. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And it looks like we have Margie last. And please.
Best for the last. This is Margie Marks. I wanted to go back to a comment that was made in the announcements about the future role of the consultants. This is my personal opinion as a former member of the commission. I would ask the new commission, before you bring the consultants in, to talk about exactly what their role would be, what they would do. I felt, for example, in the city listening session, the first hour, one of the consultants talked for 26 of the 60 minutes. And at public meetings, I felt like many times they went on and on, unnecessarily showing the same cartoon of the blind man and the elephant over and over and over. And I know it's my personal opinion, but I would just ask the commission to look at what the value of bringing back the consultants would be before that happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Margie. And we do have one more hand raised now, if you would, Anne.
Hello, my name is Nancy Hartman. I'm a 25-year Albany resident. I was on the policy development part of Albany Coming Together, the incidents at Albany High School a number of years ago. Can anyone give me an update on, did Albany Coming Together, which kind of curtailed its actual activities in February 2018, has it made recommendations to update policy in terms of the city policies? Does anyone know that? The other thing is, when the women were on talking about the horses and the racetrack, a number of years ago, maybe 8 to 11 years ago, a developer presented a multi-use plan to replace the racetrack. And if memory serves, the city voted it down. If there is anyone who can refer me to how I can find out whether Albany coming together actually affected policies and if there's an ongoing effort at Albany High School about anti-racist and anti-Semitic activities. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And we will be closing public comment now. Okay, responses. We raise our hand to speak, please. And I will first say, I would ask the public not to gender each other, as genders have not been given. Gendering people based on their voices, not friendly to people like me who are transgender and or non-binary. Commissioner Lindsay had his hand raised, and then we'll go to Commissioner Garrett Pinguello.
Just for responses, for all the folk that came, thank you for coming. You should know that because of the Brown Act, we cannot have a discussion on this item because it's not on the agenda. And you cannot have a discussion about an item that's not on the agenda. The other thing that you should know is that we're an advisory body, and we're only allowed, literally only allowed to advise council if they've asked us for advice. So if the council says to us, will you please give us advice about the racetrack, then we can discuss it and give them advice, and until then we cannot. I just want to let you know that. But thank you for coming. The other person that I wanted to respond to was Ms. Hartman, who sent an email in. It's a little hard to see in the packet that we got, but it says comments before 5 p.m. So the way it works, if anybody sends something in before 5 p.m., it'll actually be in our agenda packet. And I'm really curious about this group, Albany Coming Together. And did they make recommendations to the city, and what did happen to it? And I'm wondering if either Member Grossman knows, or if we can refer this to staff to check into.
Commissioner Garrett Pinguello.
Yeah, thank you. Referring to the public comment before 5, to Nancy, there's also advisory bodies, the Albany Unified School District. So might want to just email the school district for your questions, or go to the school district meeting to get your answers.
Okay. Commissioner Grossman.
Yeah, just let me add that my understanding is that that group made recommendations to the school board. I'm not aware of any recommendations they made to the city. And there is a group of students and staff within this within the school system at the moment, within the high school in particular, working on the direction of Superintendent Wells on issues of racism. That said, I think one of the things that Margie and I discovered in our work with students and with the high school is that those events are far from healed, and the administration is aware of it, and there's much more that needs to be done.
Thank you. Commissioner Bainan, you have your hand virtually raised.
Just going off of that point, as a Albany High School student, I do not know what Albany Coming Together has had an effect on this, but there has been changes made at the high school. A lot of student-led changes. There's been, just from recollection, around 3 clubs which address this issue. We have discussions every few months, but once again, this is still very much an issue at Albany High School, and it's something that still needs to be addressed.
Thank you. And Commissioner Lindsay.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw in one other thing in regard to this, which is that just recently several parent groups have been formed, and 2 of them have been active for a while, and a couple are getting active, and they're both related around the schools. So there's I can't remember the exact names of the groups, but Black Parent Engagement Group. There's a Latino one or Latinx, however, what one. There's a new one for API, and I feel like there's one more. But at any rate, those are happening, and so people could try to track them down maybe via the school board, or you can contact me because I know somebody who's helping to organize them. So I just wanted to that's just a point of information.
Any other responses to public comment? Seeing none, we will move on to our presentation. This is about the time I had planned. So we are on schedule, or at least I am, which is great. We will be having a presentation from former Social and Economic Justice Commission Chair Gregory Downs on where we left off, where he left off in December, and bridging, especially on the racial equity impact plan. Welcome to Greg Downs.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here and excited to see all the work that you all are taking on. So I'm glad to be a resource for you all. I know that Chair Dostie reached out to me to ask me to come in. What would be the best thing? I mean, I can talk generally. I know Member Grossman, was there as well throughout this process. So I don't want to waste your time by repeating things but I'm not certain what you know and what you don't know.
Right, thank you. And I was very broad and then did not narrow that down for you. So I apologize for the lack of direction, but I think we mostly wanted a bridge around, because we didn't know if the consultants were coming back and we're still not 100% sure. And I know I'm interested in how did you see moving forward with the racial equity impact plan? Did you work on it without the consultants, all of that stuff, which maybe Commissioner Grossman could have answered, but because of the Brown Act, I couldn't directly ask, and all of those things. And then I'll welcome questions from the rest of the commission as well. What would you like to hear from Greg Downs tonight? I've allotted us about half an hour for this.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and get started. And then if there are any, if I see hands come up, I'm glad to stop. Like I say, I don't want to end and shift to questions. The general process, just to go very quickly, is that originally there was, my memory is that originally there was a movement in council to refer, after the murder of George Floyd, to refer with the broader questions about racial equity in Albany to SEJC. Before that happened, before we were able to meet on that, then there was an effort to make a contract, obviously, as a member, I think Lindsay, said in response to a different question, SEJC is a advisory body, and so council and staff agreed to a contract with a consultant. And so it originated in this sort of confusion, I would say, that Commissioner Grossman or Commissioner Marks, if they're on the line, can offer a different perspective. If they think I'm misstating, but I think there were members of the SEJC who were eager to go forward. The bringing in of the consultant who did not have experience in policing, was something that a number of commissioners raised to council. The consultant did bring in then a additional consultant to work with them, who does have experience with policing and who was, and that was a good addition. I think there was some, slow start in figuring out how the commission and the consultant would work together. There was a town hall that had both good and bad points. There was sort of a slow start in dealing with the nature of the public meetings, how quickly time was going to pass in this context, as you all well know. And how to handle this, how to handle this in public meetings. Eventually, we created a series of subcommittees, different subcommittees than the enduring subcommittees, that focused on policing. That was myself and Janelle Gary, who's now the mayor. I'm going to not get them all exactly right, but there was one on housing and one on economic development that worked together, and one on schools. And each of those met both on their own and with the consultants, and sometime, and at least once, I believe, each of them with staff. And I think the schools one also met with, as Commissioner Grossman referred to, with members of the school board and staff at the schools, and did report backs on those. And the consultants produced notes of the meetings that they were at. And this, in the consultant's vision, was to produce a document that you do have access to, or at least is on the city website, of the Albany 2030, an interim report on a racial equity action impact plan. I think many of us hope to be farther along in completing that plan, so that, that we, certainly, always expected that the next SEJC would, take it and run with it in the ways that they want. There were challenges in getting the process going. Many of us wanted surveys to be moving forward. That, I think many of us felt like the plan would be stronger after the inclusion of open-ended surveys. Each of the subcommittees developed survey questions with the consultant. The consultant was, that has not, those surveys have not launched to my knowledge. So that what is included in that interim report is more in the realm of, kind of general principles. There were some more things talked about in the subcommittees, which the notes should be accessible to you all, though I'm not certain exactly where they would live electronically at this point. So one way for you all, you all will go forward and make the best decision. And I don't want to pretend to tell you what to do. Nor would I expect you to listen to me if I told you what to do. One path would be to try to utilize that 2030 report as a 10-year plan to try and set, to get the survey in the field in order to assess kind of range of experiences, ideas now, to develop a set of measurable goals that you could come back to. It was often mentioned in our meetings of not just come back to in 10 years, but to have, every year or 2 year check-ins on those goals, with an idea that in 10 years we'd have a broader look back to see how we've done at meeting these measurable goals. Or you may well find that, there are aspects of that you want to utilize and not the plan framework itself, the whole sort of 2030 impact plan framework, which, could also make sense. Or you may well find that, you want to fulfill the charge in some other way. So I don't want to talk about what happened as a way of limiting y'all's options, but as a way of laying out what that perhaps both limits and empowers you to do.
Thank you for that overview and details. Are there specific questions from commissioners at this point? Commissioner Grossman.
Can I add a few things? Would that be inappropriate or helpful? Not disagreeing, just to amplify a few things, if that's okay with the chair.
I believe so. I
Okay.
think that falls within the purview of this purpose, yes.
One of the early confusions, I think, that never really got settled was that a lot of the energy, of course, going into this was about policing. And this was in response to the George Floyd events and to the demonstrations that were going on. And many of us felt strongly that policing was the center. There was a subcommittee on policing that was part of the process going forward. But then the city council developed another group to work on policing. So it was very confusing as to what was SEJC doing on policing versus what was the council going to be doing on policing. Those things, were they the same or different? And I think that created some difficulty in terms of moving forward. The consultants are great people, and I don't have any problem with them at all, but there was a tendency to be sort of repetitive, and a lot of time was spent on training around racism, but at not probably a very deep level. And I don't know if the intention would be going forward to do all that again, since just about all of us are new. Do we do that over and again? Is there a value in that? I think many of us felt that the idea was to do the surveys so that we had some knowledge about how the community felt about issues and what the community wanted, and that needed to happen much sooner, so that we had some data to work with in order to do some planning, and that would result hopefully in not just some broad principles and definitions, but some concrete actions that could be taken by the council relatively quickly. So in that sense, I think we didn't get very far. And it really didn't come to specifics, and that work, I think, still needs to be done. I think there were some good things that came out of it. Certainly the contact we had with the school board and with the superintendent and the president of the school board, I think, was some of the best interaction that's going on between the city and the school board in a long time, and set the possibility of a closer working relationship. But that needs to be picked up on. So there it is. I guess the question is, do we pick up on that? And how, if we do, how do we expedite it? How do we get something actually done and not spend another year talking?
Yes, that is, I think, the question on the table. I have found, I hadn't clicked through many of the links that are in the interim plan, and I'm going to share my screen again, just briefly. So this is the interim report on the racial equity impact plan. And there are links to the previous presentations by the consultants on the months, and community dialogue notes, and listening session notes and meeting notes. And somehow I missed all of these before. But there's also a link to a folder of resources that has a number of things. And I think our task is synthesizing all of this, right? But so I see in here there are some steps towards the racial equity impact plan. There are recommended next steps for community listening sessions, recommended next steps for the racial equity and social justice survey, recommended next steps for the draft racial equity statement. What I don't see are recommended next steps around research. And I think that was my big question was, is the research done? I mean, it's never done, but did it reach, what state do you feel that the research ended at?
So if that's, I mean, my take is definitely not done, not just in the never done sense. But I think in terms of if the report were to be a history of anti-Black racism and of Black experience in Albany, say, very little of that has been done. And I think, if it were to engage, with that longer history. I mean, I don't mean that it hasn't been done in the world. I mean, very little of it was done in the context of this report. And so that would be, one among several crucial things. I think we felt, we needed to know, we didn't want to be pontificating, as, in part because we knew the implementation, would not be ours. And so that the question of how to really feel comfortable with assessing the state of the city now was going to be toward those surveys and at least additional community sessions. But there would need to be, to write up the report at the end of it and to lay out that backstory, would need to be a significant amount of research as well.
Are there questions? Commissioner Vice Chair Zapata.
I'm just to be clear on what we're doing with this piece right now. We're just learning about past from this session. So because I have different opinions and ideas about this, but in terms of getting the information, I feel that this has been really helpful. But I don't have questions per se about this process. So I just wanted to clarify that our goal here is to kind of unearth background information so that we feel clear. Because there's nothing we're like voting on to continue. Yeah, okay.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that. That was all exactly correct. So we will be working on the work plan at the end, and this will be part of it for sure. But right now is getting clear on where things have been left so that we can then make decisions about our work plan. Any other questions for Greg Downs? Commissioner Bainan.
So I know there's been talk of reintroducing or recommending the youth task force to be introduced, and I was just wondering, did the past SEJC get anywhere with this, and what was kind of their idea on this, I guess?
That's a good question. It has come up. I bet Commissioner Grossman has a longer memory. We did request additional, expansion of SEJC, which I'm delighted to see, and, put in a preference that there be youth participation there. In terms of a youth task force, I remember it coming up, but not being something that we pursued directly last year. But Commissioner Grossman, may well remember better.
Commissioner Grossman.
Yeah, we talked about that with the school administrators, and then when we had some focus groups with some of the high school students, we were surprised to hear from them that they didn't want a youth task force, that they felt it would be better for them to be involved in all of the commissions and committees, that they didn't, at least some of them felt that they didn't want to be set apart in a sort of ghettoed group of youth where their input might not necessarily be taken as seriously. So that wasn't the view of that was the view of a few people. And I don't know how broadly that feeling might be in the high school, but that was at least something we heard, which really made us stop and think about whether that really is what youth want. And I don't know, maybe Member Bain would have some more thoughts about that.
Okay, and we are mainly focusing on questions for Greg Downs here.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that the question about the youth task force was relevant to the racial equity impact plan.
So I would pull out one thing more generally on pulling out something that Commissioner Grossman referred to before, which emphasizes something you all have already dealt with. There was, ongoing confusion and frustration over a seeming effort, sense that this had to focus, from SEJC members, had to focus on policing and efforts on council or by staff to prevent, or sometimes seemingly the consultants, to prevent it from dealing with policing. And that's something clearly that you all would want to seek clarity on. There is a task force being appointed. Our judgment was that task force and the one that came before were doing short-term plans, which is crucial and vital. And also it was crucial and important too, that it would be impossible, it would be ridiculous to make a 10-year racial equity plan that didn't address longer range goals of policing. But it is, as a instrument of council, it is in this specific issue and more generally important to communicate with council and try and get clarity. and convince them, of your vision of how you want it to work. Because we also lost a good deal of time in feeling like council having started this process, the previous council that having started the process wanted it to be highly constrained or ineffective.
Okay. We are approaching the time-ish that I had allotted for this. Do we have other questions? And it is not just limited to the Racial Equity Impact Plan. Anything about last SEJC that we believe will impact our discussing around our work plan. Commissioner Lindsay. Oh, you are still muted.
Thank you. I actually met with Greg for a while, and we talked for a long time, and I have notes which I can't find, Greg, which is really irritating. But could you just remind us, you and maybe Bart also, if you forget any, what the previous subcommittees were? The longstanding, not just around racial equity, but all of the subcommittees. Because that's sort of a window into what work the body was doing.
So last time, and these had continued, and from the year before, there was a diversity subcommittee that had continued for a couple of years before. It had existed in the past, and maybe Commissioner Grossman can get it right, had maybe gone into abeyance. He recreated it around 2016 or 17. The two of us were on it. I and Commissioner Kerr were on it, and then I and Commissioner Gary, now the mayor, were on it. There was a subcommittee on housing that Commissioner Grew, I'll try not to name all the people on it, but a subcommittee on housing, subcommittee on economic development. These are separate from, there was some overlap in nomenclature between these and the special subcommittee's name for the Racial Equity Act Impact Plan, and one on aging in place. And am I missing one, Bart? I might be.
I think you've got most of them, Greg. And there was some overlap between those that had existed before and then those that were part of the impact report. So some of the things kind of faded into the impact report. The diversity committee was the one that you worked on, which came up with the report on staff diversity and the report card on that. So that was the work that was accomplished there. Housing was working on the notion of a community forum on housing. But that sort of went away when COVID hit. Aging in place, I particularly wanted to mention aging in place because Margie had produced a report with some recommendations, as I recall, the commission approved, including the fact that the council should join the World Health Organization effort on aging-friendly communities. And I haven't heard anything about whether council has taken any action on that at all. So it just sort of went away, as far as I can tell. Maybe staff have a different view. But that one kind of disappeared. And I'm concerned because there were some specific actions that the commission had committed to. So I think that's pretty much everything that we had going on, Greg.
Commissioner Garrett Pinguello and then Commissioner Lindsay.
So this is for Mr. Downs. Regarding past subcommittees and past task forces, do you know when the homeless task force was sunsetted, or was there a homeless subcommittee to work on homeless issues or unhoused in Albany? Speaking on, many people on Solano, some people screaming and yelling. Is there a specific task force or a subcommittee that we might be able to sunrise or when was the task force for homeless or unhoused sunsetted?
It's a good question. I want to defer to Bart if he's willing.
You know, and no, the specifics Julie could give us because she was on it, but I think it went away at least a decade ago, and it was disbanded by the council. Council. Well, I don't want to speak for council, but I think there was some concern and some unhappiness with some of what was being recommended. And at that point, there was a lot of pressure on council to remove people from the bulb. And it was at that point that council ended the task force.
Okay, Commissioner Lindsay.
I just wanted to, let me get my hand lowered, it's distracting. I have ADD, so, you know, I get distracted really easily, but the committee on housing, if we did have a subcommittee on housing, if we continued that in the next, you know, this sort of current SEJC, the new SEJC, it seemed like it would be a natural to include homeless, right, as part of that in that work. And that, I don't think we'd even have to ask permission of the council, because if housing is part of our work plan, obviously homeless people would fall under that. So that was one thought, and I was a question that I had. It's a two-part question, so I'll give it and then I'll shut up so we can get the answer. But is, you know, with the previous subcommittee on housing, were they also looking into homeless issues or not? And then on the diversity subcommittee, diversity is like a nice, safe word for white people. You know, that everybody can be for diversity, you know, so it's like a nice, it's a good word. But were they doing explicitly anti-racist work, or was that committee really more, I mean, what was it? Is kind of I guess what I'm asking, and the same for the homeless one. I mean, the housing one, could we include the homeless? And on diversity, is that diversity / anti-racist work, or was it just like the lighter kind of diversity, if you know what I'm trying to say?
It's a good question. On the housing one, I might defer to Bart again if he's willing. On diversity committee, my recollection is that it had an earlier history prior to when I was on SEJC that Commissioner Grossman can speak to. My memory is that he and I revived it. And at that point made a series of requests that year and the next, working with Commissioner Kerr, who also rotated onto it, requests to council. And this was an education and something I think you're savvy to, Commissioner Lindsay, of, you know, SEJC proposes, but council disposes. So Commissioner Grossman and I had requested a broader survey of race and of racism in Albany and of community members' experiences. I think this was 2017, if I have to. And I don't think, my memory is that council didn't even agendize it. I think there was something else that we started to request, but that gets a little fuzzy. The next year, over the next years, we made a couple of requests to council, some of which eventually after time got incorporated, including publicizing data that the city collects about the racial breakdown of its own employees, something the city collects and that was in city reports but was hard to access, and of putting that forward on the city website so that people could, you know, engage with that, and that would be updated, of asking for racial equity impact statements akin to the environmental impact statements on council ordinances, so that staff is, was directed to include those on the ordinances in the hope that the SEJCs would review those periodically to see A, whether they're functioning, whether they're working, and B, whether they are, whether council seems to be engaging with the impact of those judgments. and of asking council to incorporate demographic survey data on boards and commissions so that the city could begin to assess how it's doing at developing boards and commissions that reflect the city, and how it's doing at getting applications from a broad range of people. Some of those gestated for a while before council ended up acting, but each of those ended up going through. What exactly housing did. And then last year, Commissioner Gary and I had some other things developing. Then with the racial equity impact plan, a lot of it pivoted toward that and toward trying to ensure that that had space for policing and a serious engagement, or a potential for serious engagement with long-term goals of addressing racism in policing. On housing, I think Commissioner Grossman's going to know better what the committee, I can remember some of the things at Housing Forum, et cetera, but we'll know better.
Yeah.
And I will ask you to hold off on that until we are discussing the work plan, because I would like us to get through questions for Greg at this point. Commissioner Zapata.
Yeah, this is just kind of an sort of an observation right now, which is that I feel it seems that there's a lot of overlap. This is what I'm hearing, that there's, a lot of overlap and it's difficult to kind of parse these things out. And for example, Commissioner Lindsay or Member Lindsay said, putting people experiencing homelessness in the housing committee. And, for example, we just heard public comment of someone that really had nothing to do with housing, right? They were talking about, quote unquote, homeless people that were blah, blah, blah. So I think it's a complex array of how Albany is, for example, creating a community in which people that need help get help, and that there are issues, a complex array of issues, it seems, one of which is policing, right? And that and so when we talk about people experiencing homelessness, I don't think we can just put it under housing per se. It's a way more complex sort of set of circumstances, which we witnessed when we heard public comment from couple different people. So I just wanted to kind of zoom out and say, I'm just noticing, and I think this was when I was appointed to this committee, I was like, social and economic justice, like these are huge. And so I think Greg is talking about the kind of overlap that was happening. People were doing other people's work. And I think that now that we have this subcommittee or whatever it is that's working on policing, that kind of helps us clarify and maybe get off of our plate something. So all of this is to say, I'm excited to talk about the work plan, because this is making me really feel like we got to be really clear on this.
Absolutely. That said, are there any final questions? I have a brief question for Greg before he goes, which is, in the work plan, it mentions things like identifying service needs to support aging in place, including steps towards a strategic plan. It says that there was a report done and provided, but it lists that as a continued objective in our current work plan, which is attached to the agenda. And also something like develop a model for an annual Albany diversity report card and a survey on inclusivity. So my question is just, those are the things that aren't done. If they're present tense and still on the work plan, they're not done. Is that a fair understanding?
That sounds correct to me. I'm not looking at exactly what you're looking at, but what you described sounds correct to me.
Okay. So by looking at did this and planning to do this, we can sort of understand where that is. Okay. Final questions for Greg. Commissioner Zapata, I think your hand is still up. That's not a new hand. Okay. Going once, going twice. Okay. Thank you so much for coming, and
Thank you all for your service.
thank you for yours. In the interest of time, let's roll right in. 6-1 on the agenda is the next item, the selection of an appointee to the Community Task Force on Policing from the SEJC. I'll ask for nominations. I can also give a brief overview if we have questions, but Commissioner Cannoli, I saw you on mute.
Thank you. I would like to nominate Commissioner Bainan.
Okay. I would like to nominate myself, so there will be some competition. And we can talk about why we are nominating ourselves and or other people. Any other nominations before we do that? Okay.
Can you nominate just one person?
You can nominate multiple people.
Okay. And then also I would like to nominate Commissioner Garrett Pinguello as well. But I can give you my whys whenever anyone wants to nominate anyone.
Commissioner Garrett Pinguello, I saw you on mute, and then Commissioner Lindsay.
Yeah, I just want to let everybody know that I had applied and I've already been selected. So there's only going to be 6 people up for nomination tonight because I've already been chosen to be on this policing task force. I had applied and I was chosen by some panelists last week, and I was instructed by the city clerk and to make this aware during this meeting. So I'm just trying to do my best to follow the rules, what I was asked. So there's only 6 possibles here tonight since I've already made it. I'm one of the 12. So I can vote for somebody, but I can't be nominated. I was selected based on my application during the meeting last week. They said I had one of the best applications. So yeah, so I've already made this task force and as a public person. So I have made it publicly. And so I can't be nominated for this because I can't do it twice. That's the reason I can only just do it once. So I'm doing it once through the public. And so there's an opportunity for one of the 6 here. And I will nominate Bannon. I just believe it'd be good to have a student. No disrespect for you, Chair Dotsie, at all. I just think there'd be a good student on here. That's all.
Commissioner Lindsay.
Chair, I'm sorry.
Yes, Anne?
Sorry, just for a point of clarification, Commissioner Garrett Pinguello has been recommended to the council for appointment. So he's not officially appointed yet, but he has been recommended.
Yes. Thank you for that clarification.
So I would be happy with either of you. I'm sure you would both do a good job. What I'm wondering is, do we have any idea of the composition, like how many men and how many women are on this, for example, and also how many BIPOC people are there, and how many white folk are there? Because to me, it would be sort of astonishing and impossible, kind of, were this to be all white or almost all white. That would be sort of ludicrous, or all male or almost all male. And so, but we don't know anything other than Commissioner Garrett has been put on. That's it, or recommended anyway.
Right.
It's a hard situation.
So no, having attended the meeting and compiled the applicants into an Excel spreadsheet, I do have the demographics.
Okay.
Yeah, which I can share. So
yeah, please, that'd be great.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So We are weighted towards positive experiences. There are some positive perspectives with negative personal or overheard experiences. There's 3 neutral and only 2 negative experiences with police. We have 3 women. These applicants I didn't have info for at the time. I think it's been posted since, but we do have a college student and another youth and another student. We have 1 senior. We have 1 person who is not straight or unanswered. We have 2 types of disability. We have 4 white folks, and then the rest are not white specified. And we have 3 Christian folks, and the rest are not answered, with 1 Buddhist and 1 very little. And we have 2 folks who are below $75,000, 2 folks who are above $150,000. Most of the rest are in the middle. We have a couple of other things. There's some possible schedule conflicts as well. But so that is an overview of the demographics.
Okay, so that's 13 people, and we're choosing 7 as a city. We're choosing 7.
This is 12 people.
Oh, I see. There's a header. Okay.
A header, yeah. And the city is, SEJC is choosing someone, and the council is choosing someone, I believe, for a total of 14.
Out of 12?
Out of 14. This is 12 applicants from the public, and then 1 appointee from SEJC and 1 appointee from council. So we are choosing our appointee from SEJC tonight.
Okay. How many people are going to be on this body again?
14 total.
So all 12 of these are going to be put on the body, or they're going to be openings, correct?
Yes, all of these people will be put on, if their recommendations are ratified, yes.
Okay. So you're both going to be on anyway?
No, I have not applied, so I am not reflected in this.
Oh.
And I don't believe Commissioner Bainan has either. We've
see.
been nominated for the 1 SEJC slot.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Bainan. And then Commissioner Knoll.
And just a point of clarification on that. So those 12 recommendations were out of a group of 29 recommendations that was reviewed by a subcommittee composing of myself, Member Cannoli, and 2 city council members. So we did get more applications than those 12.
Yes. Commissioner Cannoli, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I do want Commissioner Bainan on this task force, just because first meeting he definitely mentioned policing, and then 2, he is a student, and I think that he would bring great things to this task force. And I think out of all of the applicants, I think there, like you said, there's like 2 students, so I think having more students on that task force would be great. So that's why I definitely nominate Commissioner Bainan.
Okay, thank you. I believe there are 3, but 1 is in college. Or there's 2 students and there's a youth who's not a student, something like that.
Yeah, so I think there's 1 college student and the other 2 are youth, and the other 2, I can remember, are of color. I think, and I have to look back at it.
The reason I would nominate myself is because there are no transgender or non-binary people on this commission. There are no people who identify as disabled on this task force, which I do in multiple ways, including both mentally and physically, including ways stigmatized by police, such as being autistic and having experienced psychosis, which is a little hard to say publicly, but hello. Because I have been researching this since June, because I have contacts with the anti-police terror project in Oakland, and part of what I do as my day job is I caption for university courses and workshops, a lot of which are anti-bias trainings, police reform trainings, abolitionist discussions, and students doing sociology on abolition. I also don't see any abolitionists reflected in the current composition of the task force. Abolition meaning the ultimate goal is to not need police and to build other services that will replace police. And having read through the applications, most of them, even those who had negative experiences with police, were very much about reform. And as a member of Critical Resistance Oakland, I think there needs to be at least one voice from the abolitionist standpoint, because there are already many reform voices and many pro-police voices. So that is my spiel for myself. I see Commissioner Zapata and then Commissioner Grossman.
Yeah, I guess I was a little concerned that there are more sort of positive experience than there are negative experience. So I wanted to ask Commissioner Bainan, like, where you stand on that, and then I was going to follow with you too, Chair Dosty, but I heard yours, so I'm wondering if you wanted to give some of how you would approach this commission or this work. To Member Bainan.
I will take Commissioner Grossman first and then Commissioner Bainan.
I'm just a little concerned about the sharing of information about people who applied to this commission, because it is, I think it was presented as confidential information. And we really shouldn't be sharing it outside of here. Some of us had the opportunity to participate, but I'm thinking that people didn't necessarily want that information to be generally available. So I'm just urging us to be careful about what we say about who applied and what kinds of people applied.
Okay. Thank you for your comment. Commissioner Bainan?
Yeah, so why I think I would be a great representative for the SEJC on this committee is because that I really feel that youth voices are not heard in that committee. I believe there's only one Albany High School student. The two other, I may be wrong, but I know at least the other student is in college, and I'm not sure about the second one, but I have not had any negative or positive experiences with the police, although I know a lot of my friends and a lot of my peers have had negative experiences. I think I'd be a great voice for them. They felt harassed or not really taken seriously by the police. And from my viewpoint, I believe that there definitely needs to be reform. There needs to be new training measures. And I think I'd just bring that perspective of the youth voice and kind of the peer voice from Albany High, which is a massive body of Albany. It composes 1,100, 1,200 students, and Albany is only a town of around 18,000 people. So that's just a massive underrepresented community, seeing that most of the appointees are either seniors or parents.
Commissioner Cannoli, because I think Zapata and Grossman's hands are both artificially still up.
Oh, he's going to talk, sorry. So to go off of Commissioner Grossman, we did not know any of the names. It's solely on their application, names are blacked out, so we don't even know who applied. We're just going based off of their answers. I don't know if that answers your question or kind of like makes you like clarification. Hopefully that helps. But just so you know, we don't know any names. We just categorize them and their answer.
Commissioner Zapata, that is a hand.
Yeah, I wanna I really wanna speak about this vote that I think is really important and say that, I'm so glad, Commissioner Bainan, that you are speaking about, young people and young people being a critical part of this process. So I really appreciate that. I also really deeply believe, and my teaching is abolitionist teaching, and I believe that we must dismantle we must have an eye on dismantling these systems that that exist in our world. And of course, I don't think that I will, in my lifetime, experience police being the system of policing being eradicated, but having that eye on moving us towards a world in which policing does not exist, I think is really important. And especially given the history of policing, the fact that it was originated in patrolling enslaved people and controlling the bodies of Black and brown people is so important in this work. And so I don't doubt that Chair Dosty would be a very probably overwhelmed voice, but having a voice of a person that is focused on the abolition of these systems rather than the reform of these systems, I think is really important. And so my hope is that we must dream of a world beyond the world that we see, and especially where we're at right now with the state of this country, frankly. And I would hope to think that that the ideas that we can create safe communities where people are, where people belong deeply, and feel safe and welcome. I would love to see the commission include a voice like that. Groups like Critical Resistance have been doing this work for so long and are so skilled, and that that Chair Dosty is part of and connected with those groups, I think is really critical. And so I wanted to just take a moment to sort of both, say, it is true that there is a need for youth voices on this, but that I think that perspective is really critical.
Thank you, Commissioner Lindsay.
I was going to say probably pretty soon we might want to take a vote on this, but I think that. Oh, okay, great. I wish we could have both of you. I am going to vote for Commissioner Dosty because there aren't enough women there, and we need women's voices. I'm not actually for abolition of the police. I'm for reform, but I think a voice for abolition needs to be on there, and a voice for disabled people and trans. That piece that there's 0 people on there if we don't have Commissioner Dosty on there. I just think those voices are needed. But Commissioner Bannon, I think you'd be great on it, but we're only allowed to pick one person. So, and I don't know how everybody else is going to vote, but that's what my thinking is anyway. And I'd recommend, if it's reasonable, that we take the vote.
I will first just say that I am not a woman. I am a non-binary person. And I appreciate the clear, yes, thank you.
I apologize 1,000 times.
Yes, and that's all that's needed. I will ask for public comment on this at this time. I will give it a few seconds because we are getting a bit late. It does look like we have at least one. And if you would move them in, thank you.
I really appreciate the comments by Commissioner Zapata and by Chair Dosty, and also by Councilmember Bannon. I also wish that both of them could be there, but absolutely having somebody who's abolitionist and who's done the work like Chair Dosty, I think that there's no doubt that that voice is greatly needed. And if there's no one else on there, especially, and the other reasons that they gave for why they would like to be on it, I really appreciate it. So I am in total support of that.
Me too.
Thank you for your comments. Oh, and I think I heard background spousal voice. Leaving up for public comment just briefly, and seeing no further hands, closing public comment. And accidentally muting myself. Commissioner Zapata before the vote? Vice Chair.
Sorry, I need to get better at the lower and raise hand thing. No.
Quite all right. Okay, so we vote in reverse order of nominations, continuing if the last nomination was not successful. Is that correct, Ann/Laura?
So if I remember correctly, Commissioner Bainan was nominated first.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was Chair Dostie
Mm-hmm.
nominated yourself, and then it was Commissioner Cannoli. Is that correct?
Commissioner Cannoli was not nominated, no.
Okay. Sorry. Who's the third one that was nominated? That was it?
Commissioner Garrett Pinguela was, and then that was withdrawn, I believe. Is that correct, Commissioner Cannoli? Yes.
So then we'll vote on Chair Dostie first.
There's a concern by Commissioner Lindsay first.
Why are we simply not saying of the two people that are running whom we prefer? It doesn't seem to make any sense to vote twice on this. We're voting once.
We're not
right?
voting twice on it. We vote on the last nomination first. If it passes majority, then that's the one. Then you don't need to vote on the second one, but everything does need to be voted on.
I believe that's procedure. Okay.
That's how we process nominations at council level too.
Thank you, Ann. If you will call the roll, please, then. This is for Commissioner Chair Dostie to be on the Community Task Force on Policing.
I'll do that. All right. These are the votes for Dostie. Commissioner Bainan?
No.
Commissioner Garrett Pinguelo?
You're muted still.
Sorry, thank you very much. Good call. No.
Commissioner Grossman?
You are still muted. Still muted. There you
Yes.
Commissioner Cannoli?
No.
Commissioner Lindsay?
Yes.
And Commissioner Zapata?
Yes.
And do I call a vote for Dostie? Yeah, Chair Dostie.
Yes. So I believe that passes with 4-3.
Correct.
Okay. So Chair Dostie is the appointment to the Community Task Force on Policing. Thank you. Next is 6-2 land acknowledgement. So this, I provided a number of resources and some draft statements, one which I wrote, one which was written by Julie Winkelstein for a local church, and one adapted from a Southeast college that I captioned for. The main concern here is, in my opinion, and this is personal, getting a land acknowledgement out in front of the beginning of meetings. Agreeing to do that and agreeing on a beginning one, and that we can refine from there. But it is up to all of us collectively. Commissioner Zapata. You are still muted.
I lowered my hand. I did not unmute myself. So I wanted to just share with you all that today I spoke with some representatives from the Segorite Land Trust. And in the work that I do in teacher organizing and some of the educational justice work that I do, we've worked on a land acknowledgement. We've worked on land acknowledgement that has certain actions related to it and the like. But after this conversation today, and Segorite is connected to the Lijan Ohlone tribe that is the original stewards of this land. And frankly, what I spoke to this person about was, rather than focusing on a land acknowledgement as a starting point, could we focus on getting the city of Albany in right relationship with the tribe of the Lijan people? And so this actually, what I learned about was that there are lots of cities in the East Bay that are in communication and are working with, as a sovereign nation, working directly with the tribe of the Lijan people. And so I'll just give you an example. The city of Berkeley recently had Karina Gold come, Karina Gold is a tribal spokesperson for the Confederated Villages of Lijan and the co-founder and director of the Socorro Land Trust. And she shared with the Council of Berkeley how Berkeley fits into the history of Ohlone territories and Ohlone sacred spaces. And that could be arranged for example, for the city of Albany, for the council to learn about and be in relationship as sovereign entities with the history of the Lijan Ohlone people of this land. And then the city of Oakland has been working with them as well. And so in getting in right relationship, rather than saying a land acknowledgement, rather getting in right relationship with this, with these First Nation peoples, Albany City Council, for example, could adopt, a statement of support. They could pass legislation or create a tax, for example, or even this is the city of Berkeley has started to change their signage. So it says, "Welcome to the city of Berkeley," and then underneath Ohlone land. Or work with the district in terms of, or I'm sorry, the schools of Albany to teach more Lijan Ohlone history in schools. But really, I think I'm hoping that we can recommend that the city council reach out to the tribe of Lijan as a sovereign, so government to government, extending an invitation that communicates that the city of Albany wants to be in right relationship with the tribe. And actually, one thing to know is that protocols are very important for First Nation peoples. And so the correct protocol in even approaching the tribe is going to be important. And they may just even, we may want to recommend that the city of Albany just says that. How do we go forward in a way that respects the Lijan people as a sovereign nation? So that's what I wanted to bring tonight, and hopefully that's what I'm hoping we can move forward tonight, rather than a land acknowledgement per se.
Thank you. Commissioner Lindsay.
I completely agree.
Yeah. Commissioner Gary Pinguella.
Yeah, actually, I've been a volunteer at the Gilchak farm for many years, and I do know Karina Gold, and I do know a few more, and they are very sweet. They've given me hugs, and we've worked very well together. They're very respectful. A few years back, I had planted a bunch of rows of corn in that unused area, and which is now a dancing circle. But they were so respectful to me that they did allot me a little circle behind the circle to where I could still garden forever. And that made me feel connected. And even though I'm 1/64th, it's just, they're very respectful people. And I think Chair Downs had his land acknowledgement speech in the beginning of each SEJC meeting. And also, I think that was very good. But the only thing I have to say really is that if we're going to be saying something every meeting, we should include what they would want us to say instead of just making it up ourselves and hoping that's okay with them. I would want to reach out to Karina Gould and the rest of the tribe that comes to the Gilchak farm religiously and see what they would want us to say.
Commissioner Grossman.
Yeah, I would support that view. I don't really see why it's either or. I like very much the notion of the city getting right with the tribe and And I like the notion of developing a relationship, and I don't see why we can't recommend that to the council even tonight. Formulate a motion and recommend that. And at the same time, I very much like the notion of talking with the tribal members in terms of what they think would be appropriate to say as an opening in our meetings. I think there's room for both things. I think the statement at the beginning isn't just for us. It's a statement to the community, and it's educational in that way. So I think it's important that we do it, but I think it's important that it be done in respect to the tribe.
Commissioner Vice Chair Zapata.
Yeah, I wanted to just share that you know what was really impressed upon me is it's about the relationship, and relationships are so important. They are the, you know, they really are everything. They're everything to us as human beings. They're everything to us as, you know, as a community. And so the reason why I want to really steer us away against a land acknowledgement is that I think that the job of a relationship is listening. Part of a job in a relationship is listening. And it's important, and I think critical, that we listen to what the Lijon people have to say, rather than sort of assuming a land acknowledgement is what is even needed. Maybe we're going to learn through this relationship that actually there's something else needed, and that a land acknowledgement may or may not be enough. So the reason why I am really encouraging us to focus on this right relationship is that I think it has to do with the respectful sort of, rather than deciding for people, it's the work of listening and deciding in relationship what feels right. And I think that the city of Albany has a lot of work to do in this area in terms of excavating the past harms and listening to the people that have experienced them. I mean, we've heard even through the racial equity impact report, the past harms that have happened, and that our city must be, I think, in relationship and excavating these stories, listening, and then deciding from there.
Great. Commissioner Garrett Pinguelo, and then I would like to open public comment.
Yeah, this is just my last thing I want to say on this. You know, in respect for the Ohlone and the Lijon tribe, we do need to do more than just acknowledge the land. We do need to get more involved. I know last night's city council meeting, they did a presentation to where Public Works went and planted 50 native trees on Albany Hill. I'm just wondering, why did Public Works do it? Why didn't the city reach out to the Ohlone and the Lijon tribe and ask them if that's okay, and ask them if they would like to plant the trees, instead of Public Works doing it as a job and the city pays for the plants? Maybe the Ohlones would have changed the narrative and would have wanted to plant, you know, some white sage for spiritual things and certain things like that. So I think we need to get more involved with the Ohlone and the Lijon, and actually have them be a part of the decision making, instead of just Public Works going to plant whatever they feel like it.
We'll take public comment at this time if there is any. Currently there are no hands, so giving it just and there's one. Okay, if you could move them in, please. Yeah.
Hi, I have so many thoughts about this. I really appreciate Vice Chair Zapata's comments. I guess I think that the city of Albany does need to take a close look. I do believe that we should be listening. I do think that we should be asking and considering, and that and I read some of the articles that, you know, land acknowledgements don't accomplish anything, or people feel like they've checked it off the list and now they don't have to worry about it. I understand all of that. But I just want to add that the first time I heard a land acknowledgement was when I was in Canada at a conference, and somebody, an indigenous person, I can't remember, tribe or whatever, I can't remember what they're called in Canada, came in and did a land acknowledgement and what? First Nations, just got corrected. Came in and welcomed us to the land, and I understand that doesn't solve anything, that I could check it off my list, but it had a huge impact on me. And so for the people who never thought about the land that we are on right now, that was stolen from people, and people were massacred, that this land did not, it's such a violent and powerful and terrible history. So I would like to see something at the beginning of the meeting or some point in the meeting to just say that, however we word it. And I agree, conferring with people at the Sigorate, people in the Lejeune or Muwekma tribes, I think conferring with them, that's fine. But I think there are a lot of people that were like me, the way that I was 10 or 12 years ago, who have never thought about it. And I think about it all the time now, all the time. It's just a terrible experience to really understand what happened. And the more you look at it, the worse you feel. And I think doing something about it is critical. And looking at street name, all of that is just critical. And I would like to see Albany take a stand on it, or take a stance on it. But I also want to help out people who just have never thought about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. And we have another hand, if you would move them in, please. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Paul Bernstein, and I'm a volunteer at the UC Giltrap Community Farm, which is a coalition project of members of UC Berkeley, community members, the Sigorate Land Trust, and individuals. And, you know, we are so fortunate that we have access to this land and that it has never been developed, the remaining 14 acres, and that it's really important to preserve that land for many uses, but for primarily the native peoples who are the rightful owners of the land. So I really appreciate all the positive comments from the commission about, you know, acknowledging, but also getting in right relationship, because that is really the key. To build the relationship in a way that we can all listen to one another for understanding what's the best way to move forward in redressing the harms of, you know, the last 200 to 300 years. And so I would hope that, you know, any steps that are taken, including an acknowledgement of the right of the Ohlone people to have access to their land in this community and to be consulted, like Commissioner Garrett-Penguello said, on further uses of the land, I think would be the right thing to do. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any further public comment, giving it just a few seconds for a last minute hand and closing public comment. I will just add, as someone who tried to write a land acknowledgement and who sees them done a lot in a fairly empty way at a lot of colleges and workshops, that I really wanted it to be a call to action and to be a moment of reflection and dedication at the beginning of the meeting. But I also completely hear that maybe that's not correct. And that while I did look through the online resources of Sigorate and other places that I've come in contact with, and they seemed, what I understood was that you should, if you can't talk to them, don't put this on them, come up with it yourself, and then reach out and get in right relation. I agree that actually getting in contact with them is obviously the best route. So I am open to the will of the commission as to what we do now, which I think is what's on the table. And we do still have the work plan to look at some. But yes, what do we want to do about a land acknowledgement? And is there an action that we can take instead of or in addition to it tonight? Commissioner Garrett Benguelo and then Commissioner Zapata.
Yeah, my viewpoint is get in touch with the Ohlone tribe and go to the Giltrap farm and meet everybody. I know the Giltrap farm, the tribe does presentations, they do educational classes, they teach you about their heritage, and I've been there many times and I've learned so much and I have so much respect. How to use the mud right there on the Giltrap farm to make plates and to make bowls out of the dirt and dry it in the sun, to make sun tea out of the blackberry leaves. I mean, it's just amazing. And so I believe we need to reach out and we need to listen to what Karina Gould has to say and the rest of the tribe and acknowledge the fact that it's Ohlane's land. And we should consult, like Paul said. And so maybe some of us need to go to the Giltrap farm and do a meet and greet and get more involved and hear what they have to say.
I'll briefly note I'm hearing a potential subcommittee. Commissioner Zapata and then Commissioner Lindsay.
Yeah, I I'm going to be honest. I called, I called, I knew someone who knew someone. So basically I had, I was able to contact someone within Segurite, and, my goal was to get their input on land acknowledgement. And so what we're learning, what I learned today was very, it totally turned around. I mean, I'm bringing this tonight. So, but what I know is that we cannot do things on behalf of people in a way that we can claim that is anything based in justice or especially for First Nation peoples. The amount of things that happens on behalf of and in the name of is just it's unconscionable. So when I contacted them, I just want to, name that my goal was to, find out how we could write a good land acknowledgement. And then, so this is what we're learning. And this is this is the knowledge, and this is the understanding that we must build upon. And so I really believe that this is about the city of Albany. This is not about SEJC. This is about the city of Albany that needs to be in relationship as governmental agencies. And this is the way that First Nation peoples, the reason they're called First Nation peoples is because they are sovereign nations that are completely unrecognized. By the way, the US government does not recognize the Ohlone people at all. They've lost their sort of governmental tribal designation. And so what I'm hoping comes out of tonight is that we encourage the city of Albany to have Karina come, be invited in the proper protocols that actually I'm sure have to do with the way there are a lot of protocols that that First Nation peoples observe that maybe even just to get the invitation is important that the city of Albany engage in. And then have Karina come and work with the city of Albany to decide, are we writing a land acknowledgement? What does it say? What feels right? So that's what I'd like to propose in terms of ways forward.
Commissioner Lindsay.
I'm trying to think of a motion here. And I was going to propose that a subcommittee, and I was going to suggest the subcommittee of Commissioners Zapata and Garrett, who seem most knowledgeable and connected already. Maybe a third person, because we can have it up to 3 on a subcommittee if somebody else is keen to join. that can, I was going to say that maybe have an informal, some sort of informal discussion as to like what are the protocols and how do we proceed. The thing is that we can only control ourselves. We can't control the council. So the other option, so we could make a subcommittee and get some research in and then have it on the next agenda and take action the next time. That would be one way to go. Another way to go would be to draft something in a hurry tonight and pass it as a recommendation to the council tonight. It's hard to draft something, on the spot, but you can do it if you need to. If you don't worry about it being perfect, if good enough is okay. So those are the kind of the two options that I see that would be a positive step forward. That would be taking action. And I really do agree with Commissioner Garrett that if we do a land acknowledgement, we should not be writing it. I have to say I've been uncomfortable with it since day one, but I was quiet about it because I didn't want to be a jerk and I didn't know what else to do. And I'm very grateful to Commissioner Zapata for what you did and bring the information forward. Because I think that finally, why was I so uncomfortable with this? I didn't know why. So thank you very much.
Okay, so is that a motion to form a subcommittee, just to clarify?
I would like to hear from Commissioners Zapata and Garrett whether option A, form a subcommittee, makes sense, or whether you would prefer that we make a motion to advise council to get right with the Alonis Lejean, I'm probably saying it wrong, peoples, and send that to them tonight. So I'd like to ask their opinions.
Okay. And I see Commissioner Grossman has lowered his hand. So Commissioner Garrett Pinguello and then Commissioner Zapata. Oh, you did not lower your hand. It was an accident. In which case, Commissioner Grossman and then Garrett Pinguello and then Zapata. You are still muted, though. I think that was the issue.
Sorry. I think that we need a statement to council, and I don't think it can be drafted in 5 minutes. I think it needs some thought and preparation. We need to really be able to convince them. I think we need to consult with the tribal people about what it is that we would want from the council, so that we can advise the council on how it is that they should approach this. So I would think a subcommittee might be in place to draft something, or perhaps perhaps members Zapata would be able to do it. She's been very eloquent on this subject and seems to be well prepared. I don't know if she feels it would be helpful to have assistance with this, but I think we should have a statement written that we can pass at our next meeting.
Okay, Commissioner Garrett Pinguello.
Great, thank you. So when I was volunteering for the farm, I was their community outreach organizer, and I would go to the city council meetings and invite the city council. We have a farm stand on Sunday. Why don't you come on down? I have a very good involvement. So I'll tell you what, the farm has meetings every Monday. If Paul's still on, I think they're at 4:30 now. They used to be at 6. I used to go to the farm managers meeting every Monday anyway. So actually, I went to a farm managers meeting last month. Paul gave me the Zoom link, so I was able to attend. I can go to the farm managers meeting Monday. I could even go there on Sunday with the farm stand and help volunteer and do some serious outreach and communicate with many people there. I pretty much know a lot of people there, and I would love to form a subcommittee because I think I'm a great person to go down there and talk and listen, basically, and listen.
Okay, Commissioner Zapata.
Yeah, I'm willing to. Jeremiah and I could be a subcommittee. I'm interested in creating a subcommittee to draft a statement that we can get passed, that instructs, encourages the city of Albany to be in relationship in a formal way with the tribe of Lijon. And so, like what you're saying, Jeremiah, I'm sure you and I can figure out the details of it, but it's less about talking to the volunteers. It's more about talking directly with tribal spokespeople. Yeah, cool. So I'm down, like Jeremiah and I can work on it, whoever wants to join us if there's a third person. But I think I appreciate what Commissioner Grossman said. Yes, great. I'd love to take the next step with writing this and move us forward.
Commissioners Bainan and Cannoli, just checking because you two tend to be more quiet. Any comments at this point? Okay. That was a maybe.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would just like to say I've really liked everything that's been proposed, and from what I've heard, it seems like Commissioners Garrett, Pinguello, and Zapata would just play a great role in helping us find a great land acknowledgement and just helping the city work with the local tribes on connecting.
Oh, your mic was very faint, but I think you said you second that?
Sorry, I do agree with that.
You agree with that? Okay. Commissioner Grossman.
So I move that we set up a subcommittee of Commissioner Zapata and Commissioner Garrett Pinguello to draft a statement to the council that can be brought to our next meeting for passage, and to consult with tribal members in the development of that statement.
I'll second that.
I will first ask, do you feel like you need any help with the drafting language? Because that part is something I'm very good at, although I suck at communicating with people a lot. So if you want me for that part, I would be happy to be on the subcommittee, but that is up to you all if you feel like you need that. The thumbs up doesn't tell me if you want me. Commissioner Zapata.
Sorry. If you want to, perhaps, sorry, did you call on me?
Yes, I did.
If you want to, like you said, take a look at the wording, that's great.
Okay. Then friendly amendment to, well, first Commissioner Garrett Pinguello.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. We'll talk to the native people of this land and let them, listen to what they want to say. And I think Chair Dotsie, you proofreading the draft statement to the council, proofreading and, maybe organizing, I think you'd be very helpful with that to make it professional. But, I wouldn't want to take away any words they would say, but I think you'd be a great input on proofreading and organizing the statement to the council.
Okay. Then is that a friendly amendment, Commissioner Grossman, to include me in the subcommittee?
Sure.
Okay. And Commissioner Lindsay, since you seconded.
It's not clear to me. It's not clear to me if they were looking for a third person or they were just saying, yeah, we'll run it by you for input. But I sort of thought it was the last one, and that doesn't actually require an amendment or any change whatsoever. There's two of them. You're not violating Brown going to the third person. They would be violating Brown if they went to a fourth person. So I think they can just do that informally, and we don't have to change the motion.
I think you're correct, and that was my misremembering the Brown Act.
Yeah.
Okay. Then yes, putting that out as my services, okay. Because you're a two-person subcommittee, that should be fine. Commissioner Garrett Pinguello.
Yeah, Chair Dotsie, I think it'd be great for you to get to know the tribe as well. So when there's a farm managers meeting, maybe you could tune in on Zoom, and maybe you could come to the Giltrap Farm. If you've never been to the Giltrap Farm, I encourage you to go. It's a great place. And I think, come on down, be involved, please. Yes.
I would love to. Getting places physically is often a challenge for me, but Zooms I can do. So I will call the vote now, unless that is a hand that is officially up. Commissioner Grossman, I think that's a relic. It looks like a relic. Okay. Laura, if you would call the vote to establish a subcommittee of just Commissioner Garrett Pinguelo and Commissioner Zapata.
Commissioner Baden,
Yes.
Commissioner Garrett Pinguelo,
I'm not sure why it's just us two. I thought we were going to include Chair Dotsie.
Oh, we clarified that I would be able to consult without violating the Brown Act without officially being on the subcommittee.
Would you like to officially be on the subcommittee? I mean, I would vote you in.
Either way, I think at this point it is probably easier to not have me be on the subcommittee.
Okay, at your wish. I'm going to vote yes.
Commissioner Grossman,
Yes.
Commissioner Cannoli,
You were very quiet again.
Yes.
here, yes. Commissioner Lindsay,
Yes.
Commissioner Zapata,
Yes.
and Chair Dostie.
Yes. Okay, that subcommittee is formed. And we have 5 minutes for our work plan, item 6-3, which I think Commissioner Grossman, yes, please.
I think we should table it till the next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to take a significant amount of time, and it's awfully late to start working on a big project. So I suggest we table it, but there's no pressure to get it done tonight.
Right. I would raise if there are any subcommittees we know we want to form, we could do those perhaps. But Commissioner Lindsay, and then I think I saw Commissioner Cannoli.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we do, let's put it as 6-1. So it's the first item we get to. And yeah, if there's any low-hanging fruit, I love that idea, Chair Dostie. I think that would be really good, so we can get to work on some stuff, because the months can go by in a blink of an eye, and you go, what happened to the year? What have we done? At least on some of this stuff, I feel a sense of urgency. So if we, if that is possible, that would be great. And the other thing, I'm just going to throw it in now before I forget. I really, really recommend to everybody that after each meeting, either that night or the next day, report back to whoever appointed you. Get in relationship with whoever appointed you, and let them know about this item and other stuff that's important to you and the commission, because then when it comes to them, it's not a surprise and you have a much better chance of it getting approved. Plus you're getting feedback both ways, because you're also listening to them about what their concerns are, and we can deal with them up front instead of at the end. So definitely I recommend everybody, I've done this for years and years and years on whatever commission I'm on. They really appreciate it. It's just a quick little email is all you got to do. We just met and here's what we did, okay, it's like, but yeah, if there's any low-hanging fruit, I'd be up for it. Other than that, I agree. So I'm done.
Commissioner Cannoli, I think your hand was raised, and then Commissioner Garrett Pinguelo.
Yes, Commissioner Lindsay basically took the words right out of my mouth. I think that working on this work plan update definitely is really important. I think for me, reading all over it, it was a little confusing, especially the work plan concept mapping from you, Chair Dotsie. I was a little confused about that. And I'm more than happy to organize it if need be. But I definitely think this should be tabled because I have a lot to say and I have a lot of questions. And
okay, I would. Sorry, Commissioner Garrett Pinguelo, and then I will comment. You are still muted, though.
Thank you. You're really good at that. You're really good at being chair, by the way. I want to form a subcommittee on homeless outreach or homeless. I see the homeless every single day. I go to Berkeley Food Pantry. I go to Berkeley Food Network. I talk to a professor on Key Route and Solano. I volunteer at a shower program for second and cedar. from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. every Sunday. And I know hundreds of unhoused individuals, and I know the needs. I used to live in an RV parked right in front of the Gills Track Farm for years, and I've been there, done that. And so I would love to form a subcommittee on unhoused homelessness. That's possible.
Commissioner Cannoli, real quick, and then I think we need to move to extend the meeting a bit.
Okay, yes, I definitely do agree with subcommittees for housing. I think that's extremely important, especially in the city of Albany. I second that 110%, Commissioner Garrett. Just quick.
Can I have a motion to extend? Should we say 10 minutes, 15? What would the motion be? Commissioner Zapata?
Yeah, I move that we extend the meeting by 10 minutes right now.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, seconded by Commissioner Cannoli. And we do have to vote on that. Laura?
Commissioner Bainan,
Yes.
Commissioner Garrett Pinguelo. Do I need an audible yes?
I'm not sure. I know an audible yes is preferred.
Yes, motion for 10-minute approved.
Got it. Commissioner Grossman,
No.
Commissioner Cannoli.
That was...
Yes, sorry.
Commissioner Lindsay,
Yes.
Commissioner Zapata,
Yes.
Chair Dostie.
Yes. 10 more minutes till 10:10. So I'm hearing a subcommittee on homelessness and or housing. So there's that to potentially refine and who's on it. Did I see another hand from Commissioner Lindsay or no? Okay. I was making that up. Commissioner Cannoli.
Sorry, I also want to add too, there's something in regards to sweetened tax beverage. Where is that money coming? Where is that money going? And what can we do with that tax money in regards to homelessness or housing? Because it's super up in the air while looking at that work plan, and I just want to get clarification as to where that tax money is going.
Yeah, I know that that is on our work plan, but as far as how we get information on that from staff and who works on it, that could be a subcommittee. We can, I believe, instruct staff to provide us with where that is currently as well. Commissioner Grossman.
That's money that comes in from the soda tax. We make recommendations to the council. It's been spent on a variety of things, water apparatus, other things. I don't remember all of the details. It also pays for the crossing guards for the schools. And there's been controversy about that. But at any rate, that's the answer on that one. In terms of homelessness and housing and setting up committees right now, I really feel like we're trying to do things in a rush. I don't think that's going to be helpful. If we're going to do something on homelessness, what do we mean? What would we do? What are we talking about? And we would have to get permission from the council if we take that up as a new matter, as a separate matter. In housing, we did deal with the question of affordability. But as was mentioned earlier, homelessness is much more complicated than just housing. So I suggest again that we wait until we have time to really be thoughtful about what we're doing and be clear about what our responsibilities are in terms of the past.
I saw Commissioner Cannoli, then Commissioner Garrett Pinguelo.
I know we have a very short amount of time. Just a couple comments going back from Commissioner Grossman. So one, school's not in, so I don't understand why those tax dollars are going to that entity. Two, I understand, but I think action definitely needs to be taken because, again, looking back at that work plan, not a lot of things were taken into action. And I really want to preface this that we can talk about it for millions of years, but until we get some type of action and some type of committee to like figure out what we can do to make this work is really, really important. I can definitely go on and on about this, and I know we have a little bit of time, but I just want to preface that the tax dollars going back to tax beverage, it doesn't make any sense how there's no school in, and the tax dollars are going to something that is not even existent. But yes, I'm done.
Commissioner Garrett Pinguello, if you're still here, I think you may have been kicked. Okay, it seems there was an internet connection issue maybe. Commissioner Zapata?
I wondered if Commissioner Cannoli, if you had a motion, because I'm trying to think about if there is. I feel you. It's like the action, the movement that we need to start rolling forward is so critical, and especially like after we're generating reports and that sort of thing. Like this, we need to see this in our community. So I'm trying to think about a motion that that might make sense right now, and I'm not really sure what that is. I'm also a little concerned, as Commissioner Grossman said, in terms of if we did something that wasn't in line with what what the work plan is right now, which I believe we're having to operate under. So I'm not really sure what to do.
Right. Commissioner Garrett Pinguello, if you are back.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, my phone died, so I'm back on my laptop now.
Okay. You had your hand raised before.
Yeah, I did. I got distracted. I'm sorry. I forgot what I was going to say.
That's fine. Commissioner Cannoli.
Yeah, I would like to make a motion again. I'm not senior. I don't know what direction to take. But Commissioner Zapata, I agree with you. I'm still thinking, pondering on it. So don't think I'm not doing anything about it, but I'm trying to figure this out.
Okay. Just reviewing our work plan, we have the housing element and its policies and how we're doing. Reviewing proposals for multifamily housing for affordability, investigating funding sources and initiatives around increasing affordable housing, and monitoring the rent review program. These things do sound more like housing, but I think there are elements that could address homelessness. And I do think it might be valuable to start a subcommittee now if folks are motivated and able right now. So those are the current charges. I think there is room within them to address homelessness, if less directly than we might like right now. Commissioner Zapata.
So I guess I'm moving that we create a subcommittee. I mean, even if we created some group of people that could start having a conversation about doing some stuff about this. So I guess my motion is to form a subcommittee of people that are interested in working on this, so that the next time we meet, we have even just something to work with. So if someone wants to amend my, but my motion is that we form a subcommittee working on housing that is, I guess, already exists in the work plan.
Okay, Commissioner Garrett Pinguello. Just quickly.
Yeah, exactly. That's where we cut out. I was going to motion that I would love to volunteer to be on a subcommittee for homelessness and housing. Thanks for picking up where we left off. I would love to be on that. I've got a lot of information. I volunteer at Albany's free laundry program every Thursday. I encounter and interact with many homeless. I throw their laundry on the roof of my van, and I transport their laundry, and they ride their bicycle. I help out. I walk the walk, when it comes to helping the homeless. So I'd love to be on that subcommittee.
Commissioner Cannoli.
I would love to actually be on this subcommittee as well, because I definitely have passion in regard to this. So Yes, hands down, I would love to be a part of it.
Commissioner Lindsay.
Yeah, so is there anybody else, just raise your hand visually, if you will, anybody else that would like to be on that subcommittee? Housing and homelessness. Okay, I'm going to make a motion, or is there already one on the table?
There's one on the table from Commissioner Zapata.
Saying that, what was the motion again?
Just to form a subcommittee on housing.
Is there a second?
There's not a second.
I second.
All right.
I furthermore want to add, if it's agreeable to
We
the maker of the
include the word
motion.
homeless?
Yes. That on housing and homelessness is what she said. That it be Jeremiah Garrett Pinguello and Sierra Canoli on the subcommittee.
Okay. Subcommittee on housing and homelessness. I'm going to ask for a vote to extend the motion by 5 minutes before we take this vote, because otherwise I think we'll run up against it. So a motion to extend by 5 minutes.
Is it more Is it more politically correct to say housed and unhoused, or is homeless a bad word? Should we be saying unsheltered, or I just want to be politically correct with respect, housed and unhoused? I don't know.
We can rename it next time, but right now we're up against the clock.
Yes, I think that is the concern. Can I have a motion to extend?
Motion to extend.
Okay. Second, please.
Motion to extend.
Okay. To extend by 5 minutes, vote please, Laura.
Commissioner Bannon,
Yes.
Commissioner Garrett Pinguello,
Yes.
Commissioner Grossman,
Yes.
Commissioner Canoli,
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsay,
Yes.
Commissioner Zapata,
Yes.
Chair Dostie.
Yes. All right, we have 5 more minutes. And now we have that motion on the table. Commissioner Zapata, do you accept the friendly amendment to specify the commissioners, Canoli and Garrett Pinguello?
Yes.
Okay. Then we are voting on establishing a subcommittee on housing and homelessness with those two commissioners. If you would call the vote, please, Laura.
Commissioner Bannon,
Yes.
Commissioner Garrett Pinguello,
Yes.
Commissioner Grossman.
No, I think combining these issues is not going to be helpful. And I think they're both important and complicated issues, and putting them together in one committee is going to make it very hard for anything to happen.
Are you proposing an amendment that it just be homeless?
I'm not proposing an amendment. I'm voting.
Okay.
Commissioner Canoli,
Definitely yes.
Commissioner Lindsay,
Yes.
Commissioner Zapata,
Yes.
Chair Dostie.
Yes. That subcommittee is formed. And I think we are going to wrap our work plan. If we have any public comment, it will be limited to 1 minute. Raise your hand now. Giving, going, gone. Seeing no public comment for this at this late hour. Okay, I would encourage folks for the continuation of the work plan to, I understand my concept mapping was probably confusing. I am working on making it less confusing, and I would love to see other people's work. We cannot directly send it to each other, but we can send it to city staff, and then we can all see it and review it in advance of the meeting, and then we can go over it, I think, more efficiently during the meeting. So that is what I would say about the work plan. It is now continued to the next agenda, and we are on item 7, future agenda items, anything that we have not covered so far. I think I already have hearing back from the subcommittee on hearing back from subcommittees. We'll put that on the agenda for sure. Commissioner Grossman.
Yes, I would like to get from staff a report on what happened with the Aging in Place initiative. And also, I would like to know from staff why it was that the presentation of Berkeley Food and Housing Project was made to the council and we were not included when SEJC is responsible for reviewing Berkeley Food and Housing Project. And I think for people who want to work on the homelessness issue, it was very important to understand what it is that the city already does on this issue. So I don't understand why we were ignored in that process, and I'd like an answer.
Okay. Commissioner Canoli, then Garrett Pinguello, then Lindsay.
I would love to see a report from staff in regards to the tax dollars that are coming from the beverage sweetened beverage tax. And I believe that's it.
Commissioner Garrett Pinguello?
Okay. Future agenda item would be, yes, Mr. Grossman, I mentioned it last night. We do need SEJC needs a presentation from Berkeley Food and Housing, from Albany Cares, from Project Hope, with their annual report and also their quarterly report, which is required, like you said. Also, future agenda item would be in support of Golden Gate Fields, what's happening with the horses down there regarding all the public comments tonight. I think that needs to be a topic for next month for a future agenda item. And that was it.
Commissioner Lindsay.
Okay. I think we have to be clear, though, that our focus is on the work plan, because if we start talking about 10 other things, it's going to be 10 o'clock at night and we won't have any work plan again. I mean, we'll have the old work plan, but I also found it super confusing. I think it needs to be way clearer. And then part of that is actually formation of subcommittees. Should happen at the next meeting for sure. And then we probably don't have time, but if there is any low-hanging fruit in terms of just pretty quick, and simple resolutions or recommendations we can give to council that are non-controversial, almost like consent items on a council or school board agenda, then that would be really nice, because we could get some stuff to them quicker. When it's not even controversial, rather than embedding it in a 9-month study and sending it to them 9 months from now. So, but I'm guessing we won't have time for that, but just at some point anyway.
I think we need 2 more minutes. We'll see. Commissioner Zapata. I'm sorry, Bainan was first and then Zapata.
Yeah, I'd love to have a presentation on the youth task force by a city employee, if that's possible. I know it ended in 1997, but I think it's a great thing that we could reintroduce, and the public has brought up as a necessary thing. So it'd be great if we could get more information on that and determine what to do with it at the next meeting.
We do need a motion. Sorry. Motion for however many more minutes. 2, 5. Commissioner Zapata. You're muted.
I'd like to move that we have 3 more minutes.
3 minutes. Is there a second? No second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Bainan. A vote, please, Laura.
Commissioner Bainan.
Yes.
Commissioner Garrett Pinguello.
Yes.
Commissioner Grossman.
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly. Commissioner Lindsay.
I'm going to vote no, just because I'm freaking tired.
Commissioner Zapata.
Yes.
Chair Dosty.
Yes. Okay, we have 3 minutes, and Commissioner Zapata, your hand is up for future time.
Yeah, the last thing, though, I wanted to just put this out there. I mean, you're in charge of the agenda, but I do believe that we should have the cross on the hill as part of our conversations if we're talking about the environment, which is pretty much what this committee is about. I know it's a complex issue, but having a lit cross on the hill is utterly unacceptable. And what can we do about that?
Would love to know. Okay, any other future agenda items in the last 2 minutes? I cannot see if Commissioner Garrett Pinguello is raising a hand, but I think you already went. Yes, your hand is raised. Go ahead. Commissioner Garrett Pinguello. And it's lowered. Okay, I'm going to assume that was a technical glitch. And that's the end of future agenda items. And do we need to take public comment on that? No, right? I don't think so. Okay. Okay, our next meeting will be March 2nd at 7:30 p.m. And the future agenda time, change in the meeting time is already suggested, and I will probably be putting it on the next meeting agenda so we can meet earlier and avoid all of these issues. And I will take Commissioner Garrett Pinguello, yes, one last thing.
I think we should always open for public comment for future agenda items.
Okay. I'll 30 seconds per person. And if you would, if there is anyone public comment, giving a moment. It's very late. There are 7 people. I think we did a good job covering it, not seeing any. Okay. Thank you for raising that, Commissioner Garrett. Yes, our next meeting is March 2nd, 7:30 p.m. and we are adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Bye, everybody. You rock.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night, guys.